So the guard pass system I'm gonna show is, in my opinion, one of the most versatile and powerful guard pass positions in jiu-jitsu. You can pass super flexible guards with it. You can set it up from almost anywhere. It's super useful. I call it the lunging leg drag. So once we're in a leg drag, the main, most important detail is to keep this leg pinned with our shin. A lot of people shoot their knee all the way through and they focus on the leg and all this stuff. But if you ever allow this foot to get good force on the floor, he can start turning back in. And if he's really strong, he can start fighting and creating movement, right? So as long as this knee or shin stays right above his knee line and keeps him pinned here, he can't turn back. Even if I'm not using my hands like to hold the leg or the hips, he can't really create good movement here. This completely restricts him. That's the main premise of this position. All the other series are gonna build from here. The first thing we do here is I lock in with the leg. Often my left hand will grab the hip here. My right hand will come up to the lapel. If this knee is here, right here, I can even get my elbow over and start pushing it behind. Once I get past, often since he can't turn back in, he'll start pushing with this top leg a lot more, extending it to try to get me out, and that exposes the hip and allows me to come in and pass. Okay, so the next finish variation from the leg drag is once we have the leg pinned, we've gotten to the lapel and we're trying to finish here, there's no way for him to shrimp and turn back into me, but some guys who are really flexible and have good guards, what they'll start to do is I'm gonna keep the hand on the hip initially and pull it to keep him here, but he starts pulling his knees to his chest here and centering up back. Like this, right? The more flexible the guy's guard is, the easier it is for them to try to do this. So what happens is, instead of me being able to keep this down on the floor, which he can't turn back with the foot, so he brings his core tight, and it's gonna look something like this, right? So now here, I'm gonna keep the lapel, and what I do is I post on my head, and his hip comes off the floor. From here, I can grab his hip, and I can start rolling through for a back take from here. From here, I can drop through, and I wanna keep my torso under his low back, or my chest under the low back, because now he can't bring his back to the floor. From here, there's different finish variations. I can switch this into a twister hook. I can be here and just throw this top leg over and set him up, but it's a very powerful combination to mix in with the leg drag is the roll through for the back take. So now we're gonna look at using the rolling back take from the leg drag position. So we're in the leg drag, we got the leg pinned here like this, and I have him pinned, and what's often gonna happen here is this is pinned, and I can have different grips here. Often my left hand will be on the hip here, and I'm pushing this knee out of the way. Once I get this out of the way, I wanna progress to the lapel, and he's gonna start pulling his knees to his chest. And what happens is, he can't frame on the floor with the foot, but if they got a flexible, tough guard, they'll start pulling this in, right? And what that does is it starts to lift his low back off the floor, which is gonna make rolling through to threaten the back take much easier. So I have the lapel here, he pulls the knees to the chest, and I'm gonna start posting my head on the floor. I'm doing this very slowly to demo, and I'm gonna keep this hip to elevate his hip, and now I'm gonna roll through and keep his hip elevated here. As long as I can keep his hip elevated in the air, I can bring my head and my chest under his low back, and now he's propped up in the air. From here, there's a lot of different finish variations you can do. I could just throw my top leg over and sit him up here and come up and take the back. I could also turn this into a twister hook type finish here and kick up and take the back here, right? I could even use this to go to like kind of a stomp type finish here and progress up and take the back. But if you can force that position where you have your top hand on the hip and your right arm under the low back, it's a really powerful point. You can finish the guard pass.